It's time to talk about another family that we Albanians owe a lot to. Obviously, the Frashëri family. They were 8 siblings, but this video will be about the 3 brothers, all from the village of Frashëri, obviously, in southern Albania, but despite having different roles throughout their life, they all shared one common goal: the unification of all Albanians and the freedom to govern ourselves, to learn our own language in schools, and to enjoy our own culture openly. After the passing of their parents, the Frashëri family relocated from their village to Yanina in now northern Greece in 1865. It was there that they received their excellent education, first in Greek, but all 3 were very fond of education and learned to speak multiple languages throughout their lives. This gave them a knowledge and fondness of both the Western and Eastern world, but they always retained a very deep connection to the Albanian language and their fatherland, Albania. Now, to simplify, I'll divide this video into 3 parts. In this one, I will talk about the oldest brother, and the next video will be about Naim, and then the last will be about Sameh, the youngest and probably most famous of the brothers. So let's start. It lived from 1839 to 1892 and was the oldest sibling. And for this, I have a lot of respect and understanding for him, obviously, because so am I. But in all seriousness, he was also the father of Abdyl Frashëri, so it is clear that he greatly inspired and educated the whole family. This became even more clear when you learn that his parents passed when he was around 20, and he became the head of the household and was the one who actually moved the family to Yanina to pursue a higher education. After his studies, he worked as a merchant and then for the Ottoman Empire as a civil servant. He held important positions like customs director in Yanina and even became a representative in the Turkish parliament as well. However, it was when the most critical issue, called the national question, arose that his true passion came out. He fought for the rights of Albanians for the rest of his life, even more so following the Treaty of San Stefano in 1877-78, as Albanians feared that this would lead to the great powers annexing Albanian territories to everybody and their mother. These fears came true following the Treaty of Berlin, like 3 months later, and then ultimately in 1913 we had the full annexation of half of our land and people as a result of the Treaty of London. It took a few years, but basically that's what happened, so literally everybody and their mother did get a piece. Now, with his articles in Turkish and Greek newspapers, the concerns of the Albanian population living within the empire were brought to public attention for the first time. In 1877, Abdyl and his younger brother Sameh, along with other brilliant Albanian thinkers, came together in Istanbul and formed the Komiteti Qendror për Mbrojtjen e të Drejtave të Kombësisë Shqiptare, the Central Committee for the Defense of the Rights of the Albanian People. They got a shorter name after that. Their mission was to fight for autonomy for the Albanian vilayets of Kosovo, Manastir, Yanin, and Shkodër. But as you may know, it was never an easy journey for Albania and Albanians, despite other countries like Romania, Montenegro, and Serbia gaining independence and a Bulgarian principality being formed. The great powers and the Ottomans fully ignored the pleas of Albanians. The Albanian national movement wasn't united enough, according to them, to stop the division of our beloved country, because at this point people had different religions, educational backgrounds, nationalities even. That's what happens when you have 5 centuries of being under foreign rule, but that's what they thought. But today we know better, because if you know anything about Albanians, it is that we stick together. So in 1878, something amazing happened. Delegates from all over gathered in Prizren. They formed a united front called the League of Prizren, and it was there to deliver an inspiring speech and representing basically the Bektashi order as well. But when he returned home to the south, he gathered a committee in Yanina as well and supported raising an army to protest and protect southern Albania from Greece's attempt to take over. There was even more hope when Muslim and Christian landowners met at the Bektashi monastery and they agreed on a plan for autonomy, which the League of Prizren adopted shortly after, and then in 1878-79 traveled to Berlin, to Paris, to Vienna and Rome, seeking support for Albania and presenting our demands to the governments of all those powerful nations. With his help, delegates in Gjirokastër also created a program for Albanian autonomy in 1880. His journey continued back to Prizren, where he formed a provisional government in 1881. and that lasted until the Ottoman Empire intervened and sent troops to stop the League's progress. Imagine how much suffering we could have avoided if the Ottomans would have just accepted that we wanted to be Albanian and left us alone, as they were already dissolving themselves. But he had to flee, and he tried to escape to Italy, but was captured near Elbasan in Albania. There he was sentenced to lifelong imprisonment. Until 1886, he was finally released because of health reasons, but only on the condition that he gives up all political or patriotic activity. So he was sent in exile, basically, but he didn't stop, even though he was sick and isolated and living in Istanbul at this point. He died there, and today he is finally buried in Albania. His bravery and unwavering dedication to Albanians will forever be remembered. We celebrate him as a national hero today, and his efforts, along with those of the many others, laid the foundation for the future struggle for Albanian independence. But his character also transcended to inspire his brothers, his children, and everyone else he met throughout his life, kind of like the most beautiful domino effect. Now go on to the next video to hear about our national poet, his brother, Abdyl Frashëri.